The storm had been brewing for hours, but no one on the harbor listened to the old man standing by the pier. He wore a faded cap, an oil-stained jacket, and eyes that seemed older than the sea itself. He'd been sitting by the docks all morning, muttering about the weather, about ships, about things only he seemed to see. When the Coast Guard crew started loading their rescue vessel, he spoke up. "You shouldn't head out past Grid 9, he warned, his voice gravelly from years of salt and wind. Lieutenant Mason looked over, half amused. "And why's that, old-timer? See ghosts out there?" A few of the younger sailors chuckled. The old man didn't smile. "No ghosts, but something's moving beneath that grid, a current that isn't natural. You go out there, you'll lose your comms inside 10 minutes. Appreciate the weather report, Captain Hook," one of the deckhands joked, slapping him on the shoulder as he walked past. "We'll take our chances." The old man just sighed, staring out at the gray line of the horizon. "You won't come back the same," he murmured. The storm swallowed their laughter as the boat pushed off. By mid-afternoon, the sky had turned black. Wind clawed through the pier, throwing waves against the concrete like fists. Inside the small harbormaster's office, radios crackled with static. "Harbor Control, this is Coast Guard Rescue 4-1. We're experiencing signal distortion." Then silence. The radio operator looked up, frowning. "We lost him again?" "Third time this month," muttered the harbor chief. "Must be those new transponders. Always cutting out." The old fisherman, who had been quietly drying his nets near the wall, lifted his head. "Grid 9, he said softly. The chief turned, annoyed. "You again? You think you know better than naval tech?" The old man's eyes were calm but steady. "I know the sea better than the people who pretend to control it." Just then, another voice broke through the static. Faint, panicked. "Ade, repeat. Unknown object on sonar." The line went dead again. Everyone in the room froze. The chief swore under his breath. "Get me a fix on their coordinates." "Can't," said the operator. Signals scrambled. "System's not responding." The old man stood up slowly, limping toward the map on the wall. He pointed to a cluster of numbers etched near the outer edge of the bay grid. "They're here," he said. "Right on the trench line." The operator blinked. "How do you know that?" He looked at the coordinates, and they weren't even on public maps. Those were Navy-only reference points. A few men in the office exchanged wary glances. "Hold on," the chief said. "Those coordinates aren't civilian access." "Where'd you get them?" The old man just stared at the chart. "Doesn't matter. What matters is you have 15 minutes before the current pulls them under." "You can't possibly know that." The old man turned, eyes sharp. "I've seen it happen before." The chief hesitated. He wanted to laugh it off like everyone else, but something in the man's tone, the quiet certainty, made his stomach tighten. "Who are you, old man?" he asked. No answer. Instead, the fisherman grabbed a pencil and began sketching rough marks on the map. Depth changes, current vectors, even sonar dead zones. The operator whispered. "He's plotting military sonar fields." "That's restricted data," the chief snapped. "Lock the office. No one leaves until we get an ID on him." The old man dropped the pencil and turned toward the door. "You don't have time for that." He stepped outside into the roaring rain, his small fishing boat bobbing wildly against the dock. Without another word, he climbed in and started the motor, an old diesel engine that coughed and roared like thunder. "Someone stop him," the chief shouted, but no one moved. Something about the way the old man moved, steady, practiced, fearless, made them all hesitate. Out at sea, lightning ripped across the sky. The Coast Guard vessel was drifting powerless near the trench, its engine fried, radar blind. "Backup power's dead," shouted one of the crew. "Can't raise command," yelled another. Lieutenant Mason gripped the railing, waves hammering the hull. "Get those distress beacons online." But the moment he said it, a voice crackled through the static. "Hold position. Drop anchor. Do not power your engines." The crew froze. "Who is that?" "Identify yourself." No response, just coordinates read calmly, line by line. They were Navy deepwater references. How would a civilian frequency have those numbers? Mason muttered. Then he heard something else in the background of the transmission. The rumble of an old diesel engine approaching. Moments later, through the sheets of rain, a small fishing boat emerged from the storm. Its single lantern glowed like a ghost light. Mason stared. You've got to be kidding me. The old man was standing at the bow, soaked but steady. He motioned toward them, yelling over the wind. Kill your generator! You're sitting in a magnetic field. You're blind because your own tech's frying your systems. What field? Mason shouted back. The old man didn't answer. He cut his own engine and threw a thick rope across the gap. Tie off. I'll pull you out before the trench shifts. They hesitated until their hull groaned like something enormous had moved below them. Then, everyone rushed to secure the line. Took nearly an hour for the fishermen to tow the heavy Coast Guard vessel toward calmer waters. When they finally broke free of the current, their radios came alive again. Rescue 4-1, report status, crackled the command center. Mason grabbed the mic. We're safe, but we didn't do it alone. We were guided out. Guided by who? He looked back at the small fishing boat. But the old man was already heading back toward the storm. When they returned to the harbor that night, the base commander was waiting, uniform soaked, expression dark. Who fed you those coordinates? Mason hesitated. An old fisherman, the commander frowned. Describe him, Mason did. The color drained from the commander's face. That's impossible. He pointed to a photo frame behind his desk, a faded picture of a Navy deep-sea crew from 20 years earlier. Standing in the center, wearing the same weathered cap, was the old fisherman. Commander Jacob Harlan, the nameplate read. Classified. Lost at sea in 2003. Mason's voice trembled. Sir, he saved us, the commander whispered. He's been listed as MIA for 2 decades. Outside, thunder rolled over the bay again, and for a split second, lightning illuminated the far edge of the pier. A single fishing boat sat there, motionless, and beside it an old man watched the horizon, as if still waiting for someone to listen. When the commander stepped outside to call out, the dock was empty. Only a cap lay against the planks soaked by the rain, marked with faded letters, Navy Deep Ops, 7th Fleet. That night, the coordinates from Grid 9 were erased from the public maps, but every sailor in that harbor remembered what they'd heard. The calm voice on the radio, the forbidden coordinates, and the old fisherman who knew things no civilian ever should. And sometimes, when storms rolled in, the harbor lights would flicker just as a small diesel engine echoed faintly through the fog, guiding lost vessels home again.